Okay, so if you guys don't know, there is a new patch overhaul which is pretty large for Supervive, addressing a lot of the issues that a large amount of the player base was having with both the Armory and dunking and a lot of the hunters. So me and my friend roughly 44 Ducks, who is a previous legend player, currently on his way up, are going to discuss our thoughts on the patch and pretty much the state of the game, what we'd like to be seeing more in the future. To start off, we've got ourselves a new hunter, which looks pretty exciting, and also this is a very quick turnaround considering Tetra was released 9-10 days ago.
Lemur had a pretty good champion spotlight type video as
Yeah,
well.
definitely the way to go.
She's just like a slow artillery healer. Seems like I kind of think she's going to be on the weaker side, given the meta kind of favoring melee divers right now.
Yeah.
And her auto attacks have like a little she's got like a dead zone right next to her, so if you get up in her face she just can't hit you.
Supervive loves making characters with like a certain engage range. They did make a large Wukong change, which I'm pretty stoked about. This is what we've been needing to see for some time, because Wukong is just one of the most annoying chances to play against. My issue, which they pretty much addressed pretty well here, was that he would go up onto a staff, he would get a giant shield, which means you can't really interact with him anymore. And then he goes up on the z-axis to the point where you can't interact with him anymore. So he's in two different ways kind of invulnerable for a second, and then he gets to interact with you. He gets to stun you from a very long distance away. They addressed a lot of these things and then kind of added to his kit in other ways, which seems smart, and I hope that lands well. I'm not a Wukong player, but I'm definitely happy to see that the oppressive right mouse button builds are going to be changed here.
Yeah.
Yeah.
30% less range on his R&B is substantial, especially in the Abyss fights, especially with that shield being less as well. You can actually hit him, or at least on Brawl and Zeph, you can stun him out of his pole when it's going up in height. So you can kind of use that to play around him. And I think if you break his shield, I think that gets him off the pole as well.
Yeah, I would hope
It's
so.
not quite as oppressive.
Just give him it was a 1200 shield, which is just absolutely massive.
That's insane. That's like half your health bar.
Yeah. It feels like it basically comes instantly. I don't know if it like works with the charging of the pole, like if the shield gets bigger while he's going higher, but I don't know. If that was the case, like that would be another good balancing point, I feel like. But
yeah,
it's good to see them addressing the issues quickly. And I do hope that he becomes a little bit more of like an in-your-face, spinning on you, and like using his ult to not just.
It's like 20% damage on his spin now. So
yeah,
definitely shifting his damage more into getting in your face instead of like just hanging back and stunning you from over the wall.
Yeah, it was a healthy state for melee characters, and that is playing the risky frontline game, where if you are going to dash in and do a bunch of damage to a bunch of people, you are in fact dashing into a bunch of people, and Wukong, was able to safely do it from a distance, which doesn't feel good from the other side. Shiv changes. This is in addition to, so there was a hotfix for Shiv where she had an arc slinger, her left mouse button, just primary attack, damage reduction of 15%, as well as her passive, which basically applies a stack on every ability hit or primary hit that has her deal more and more damage, stacking infinitely on both camps and hunters. That also got a damage reduction of 15%.
That's basically just a flat 15% damage reduction.
Yeah.
Because that's all her damage.
Right. If you play League at all, Shiv is an 80 carry, and that is just 15% less damage on your autos. These types of nerfs are what I hope to not see from a game, especially like after they've just released 1.0. Like, this is the kind of stuff you're okay with seeing in a beta. Outside of it, I guess it's okay that they're still adjusting things, but my issue is there's a lot of Shiv players now, a lot of people who are mechanically enjoying the character, and I think Shiv is honestly a very skilled character to play. She's just been a little overtuned, and now your projectile speed and your range is reduced, which just completely warps the feel of the character. So people who have mained her are now just going to feel off. I feel for them. Like, that's too bad. Those are hours on a character you're not getting back, and you may or may not choose to continue playing them because the feeling is just that much different.
Totally agree. It's about it's less than 10%. It's like a 5-7% decrease in projectile speed and range. So it's not 15%, not math. But yeah, it's definitely gonna be noticeable. It's gonna be kind of rough. But I feel like she just takes such good advantage of the armory items. Somebody made a graph earlier if somebody had a Shiv. If you play in Shiv and you have 3-star Vive Infuser, you can get back 90% of your health within 6 seconds just through your dashes of your shift and your ult. As I say,
it's really good.
That you can just make use of one item so well. I don't know. Would you have felt better if they nerfed Vive Infuser and Shiv specific items?
I mean, thinking about it, I think that identity is really cool. I think the shorter range has to get in your face, but has the healing potential, has sort of the high risk, high reward. I think Shiv has double healing on Nox. And the fact that Vibe Infuser works so well, you are choosing to have one of your relics committed into a vitality and choosing to not have it deal any damage. So surviving means that you have to be in the fight longer in order to deal damage, which is a high skill cap way to play the game. So I think that's a very cool identity, and the issue of Shiv dealing too much damage, right, and being able to do that was too strong. But if she has a good amount of damage and can also be very survivable, right, I think that's sort of a cool play style, and there's a place for it in Supervive. So I don't really think the issue with the items is the problem. I guess it's just like finding that identity, like somehow somewhere in the game of telephone of going from beta to 1.0, Shiv just got crazy inflated damage, despite building a tank item, right? And that was unfair. So I hope that that's still like a possibility for her. And I think, you know, I guess narrowing in, making her a little, like, have to be a little bit closer for her effective range, like, it does make sense, and I think these nerfs are good. All right, well, here comes a pretty big one, a charged one, if you will. One we've been waiting for a long time, as you are quite the Joule player yourself. This is a lot of changes, some deemed necessary, some deemed unnecessary, and I'd like for you to just give your thoughts, honestly, as somebody who's a very experienced Joule player, what you're seeing with this wall of text.
It's bad. I mean, she's in a really bad state right now. I've pretty much stopped playing her over the last couple weeks just because she's got, I mean, in the first line there, that self-slow, I checked it earlier. She's got like 460 movement speed base, and then when she auto attacks, when she LMBs, it's goes down to 190 for over half a second. So she like self-roots herself. It's more than Shrike's slowdown. I'm glad that they're changing that. That's going to make LMB feel a lot better. The mana cost changes that they added in as well. I never really had that many mana problems. I saw a couple Joule mains talking about it, saying that they like that. And so, you know, 5 less mana on each of your abilities is going to save you 10 mana per like rotation of your combo. Yeah, there's been a couple times I can count probably on one hand that I've been like, you know, 10 or 20 mana off of an item, or off of an ability. I mean, I'll take it, but it's doesn't really feel like it's addressing the pain points. The lightning orb changes, the orb that spawns after you RMB somebody. That's another one that's kind of a head scratcher. Like, so I think the forgiveness radius just means that like the pickup radius of it. Joule players aren't really missing it because it doesn't move around and your dash goes in a straight line, and usually you're dashing over it. Sometimes you want to just leave it there because you want to get a reset later. And so you kind of want to fight around it and make sure you don't pick it up because you know that you're going to be able to reset by popping your passive on somebody, and then you can save it to like double dash out. Is a really common like combo or tactic. So increasing the range and radius is like, it's just a little weird. Like it doesn't really feel. I can see how for new players it would definitely help. I remember there was some frustration when I started playing her, like that I wasn't picking it up super consistently. But yeah, it's again not really addressing the main pain points. I think the delay. There's no tooltip about this, but there's actually a delay when it hits the ground. Right now it's 0.3 seconds, and it sounds like they're changing that by 0.1 seconds, and that's nice. But it'd be awesome if there wasn't a delay in the first place.
Right.
She's a high precision, high risk, high reward. She lives in the land of extremes, and that's why people love playing her. People who love to play her, that's why I love to play her, is because she's such an extreme queen of a character. Doing stuff like adding in delay and then increasing the orb radius, it feels a little antithetical to the character itself, but they're not awful changes up until this point. Like, it's strictly buffs. Increasing your Q damage, that's a little bit of a head scratcher. I mean, I'll take it, but it really doesn't, it's not a really significant part of your combo. I don't know the exact numbers on it, but it's mostly a utility spell, so it's a little weird that they're trying to put some damage onto that. I'll have to see how it feels. Again, it's a strict buff, so I'm not going to complain about it. The shift right now is, I guess it's bugged. It's doing way less damage, and I think that's part of the, people aren't even like maxing shift anymore, and I guess that's because it's bugged. I'll have to see how much damage it does, but without your passive stacks, like 4 of them being popped, your shift does like a little bit more damage than one of your LMBs. So those are all buffs, which are good, but they're not like super
nothing to write home about.
Nothing like,
really.
You know, they've been teasing a rework forever, and they're still cooking it, I guess, and so I think this is just sort of the, you know, tie you over kind of buffs.
Big band-aid.
The passive change though, this is really weird. This is minus 15% damage on max health damage. So you're not going to be able to kill tanks anymore. Not like you were killing tanks very reliably anyways, but that's big. So if they have 2,500 health, which is like brawl with no health items, you do 200 less damage to them.
Hopefully,
it'll be like 50 more damage maybe.
Q combined with the bug fix on the shift, do you think it's proper damage makes up for that?
Maybe.
I hope that this change, like, I kind of think it makes sense that Joule shouldn't be able to one shot like an Oath or a Kingpin. I think that should kind of be her her weakness, her counter matchup.
Yeah, she wasn't killing tanks anyways, and I felt it was nice to have that damage as sort of a threat always of like, you gotta, you have to respect the Joule,
Hmm.
and you just have to, outposition her. Even if the shift damage and the Q damage make up for the missing damage there, so we were looking at a net zero change
Hmm.
for those things. Like, what?
Yeah.
I thought this was supposed to be big buffs. The health is a buff. That's nice. Health is a resource that buys you spacing, that buys you neutral space and ground as Joule. At least that's the way that I would use it when Omnivamp was a little bit more accessible. Now it's
Hmm.
kind of harder to do. So the health is nice. It's just a little bit weird that it feels like they're kind of confused about what they want Joule to be, because
Hmm.
she was like a burst assassin who has to go through the opponent in order to do her damage. So she puts herself in harm's way already. It felt really good to have her to be rewarded for that with a bunch of damage.
Hmm.
And really thin hitboxes are super unforgiving. If you miss your dash, you have no dashes, and you're in the middle of the team, you have no orb, you should die there. You have to play perfectly if you want to not die when you decide to go in. So these are super underwhelming Joule changes.
I do hope that this change lands for newer players, because I think Joule is a very interesting character. I think she's a great character to like start learning Supervive on and sort of fall in love with. And I think to some extent that happened with you. You were kind of bouncing around. You
Yeah,
had like Felix and like Myth, and then when you landed on Joule, you were like, man, okay, this game's pretty
yeah,
cool. Like there's a tempo
100%.
to it, and the combos can feel crisp, and then you start getting good, and you realize the potential. And I feel like Joule just has such an insanely high ceiling that it doesn't really matter her state. If the pilot is good enough, they're making it work.
When your damage and your mobility is tied together, you're right. The best players could make her work with the highest ceiling, but
It's
but
like you pin
like
an insane Joule up against a sloppy Shiv, and that's an even matchup, or at least
yeah,
last patch it was, and
yeah,
like that's just not
that
really
feels
where
bad.
you want to see from two damage characters. Moving on to Saros. Now Saros is a character that I have sort of been messing around with, and I definitely enjoy him despite knowing how weak he is and experiencing that. And he has a lot of points in the game where he falls short. But there are moments where he like can really shine and feel super smooth and fluid and capitalize on situations unlike other hunters. And I really like his sort of like got this long range sniper vibe, can poke you down, but can also all in you. I think that's super cool. I think a lot of characters kind of have that in a different way from Saros, and I don't really think he's very good at doing that, but he can do it. And again, like if you play perfectly, like it's disgusting. These changes were hinted at a couple days ago when they dropped their little dev blog, and it's actually missing something that they hinted at, which is where I'm a little bit upset, I suppose. I'm glad that it did indeed change the dive slash cooldown. He has a lot of trouble getting away right now. And so lower cooldown on his dash is great. It is kind of a high cooldown dash, so 1 second. I'm not sure that's really going to fix his issue, but it is nice to see that they're addressing the right thing. His Eclipse Portal, this seems like it's just kind of bugged. Increased volume, so just it seems like it's going to be larger. Basically, this is now going to be functioning as it was meant to be this entire time. So this isn't really like a buff or anything like that. This is just hopefully the character is in a better spot and functions proper. And so the only real thing that we're seeing is the 1 second off the dive slash. And what they had hinted at was the fact that, and this isn't something you would know from reading about Saros, only from playing him, is that when you shift between firing forms, your sniper mode and your shorter range, faster firing mode, there's kind of a delay, maybe about of a second, where you just can't shoot. So if you're aiming down your sights and you blow up your Q and you land it and you get your passive, your ionized passive, so that you shoot faster, it takes you about 1 second to switch from sniper to actually shooting faster and using your passive, which feels bad. It doesn't feel like that should necessarily be a part of Saros' kit, but it is something holding him back, and it keeps him from feeling smooth. I love the character design. I love the direction he's going. He seems like he should be a very smooth and fluid character, but he has all of these sort of pitfalls and things that trip him up that just are feels bad things that you have to get used to. So a little bit sad to see that, especially because he's one of the weaker characters and he has been for a long time. He's really just not getting a ton of love here. I hope that they are going to continue watching him. Yeah, because I feel like, one, this isn't going to get people to play Saros, and two, it isn't going to get people to perform better on Saros.
That's fair. I was actually playing arena earlier with another Saros player. I don't know if you know Destravis. He seemed pretty optimistic, pretty excited about it. Just being smoother and being able to have more, going through your portal, being able to zip around and do things and like not
Mhm.
trip over your shoelaces while you're doing that. The word that he used was game changing. I appreciate his optimism. That's for sure.
Yeah, I'm glad that another Saros player thinks that. In my mind, like Saros kind of has he's got a few problems. especially with kiting, right? Like he's got long range, and then inherently can go into shorter range, but is then putting himself, in the line of fire and can get collapsed on, and he doesn't have very many tools to get away. The cooldown reduced for his shift helps a little bit, right? More opportunities to get away. The issue he has is if you are using your portal to escape, it's already too late. And if you're using it to just like traverse or like to maybe find a new angle on a fight, then this change isn't game changing. It was already very easy to like throw down a portal, have nobody bothering you, and go through that portal, right? And then find, a lane to shoot, and then go back out, out of harm's way, which is the way I've sort of learned to use his portal. It's kind of like an out of combat portal. If you're using it in combat, people can chase you no problem. People can knock you away from it so that you can't enter it in time. People can, oftentimes there's a bug where you'll go through and then come back to where you started just instantaneously, and there's nothing about that addressed. So I mean, I hope that this is a change that, a bug that they realized, and this encompasses that bug, but I don't know. I'm gonna have to try playing him. The other thing I was really hoping to see, which I know from the Saros chat, other people feel this way too, is the dive slash, his shift's second half. The window of opportunity to use his like little melee hit is very short. It's like 2 or maybe 3 seconds. And the issue with that is when you dash away, then you have 2-3 seconds of opportunity to use your melee hit. So you're basically not going to be using it unless somebody immediately follows you with their dash, and then you can try and play it. But otherwise, it's kind of a bait. If you dash away, you're thinking, maybe I should try to use this melee part and move back into range to get it. But if you miss it, then it's just a massive issue. I would love to see the dive slash second half have a larger window of opportunity, maybe 4 or 5 seconds, where you can kind of hold on to it and use it as a self-peel tool. At least have the option for longer. I think this would really help out Saros. It's just a tool that he currently has. It would just be one that he would have more access to, because it sort of feels like with the dive slash, the second half of it, you're either going in and using it or you're not using it. And if you're going in and using it, you are playing very risky. Eva has also been on the watch list for a long time, and it seems like, to me, this is somebody's pet project. Like they absolutely love Eva. They've wanted her to succeed from the start, and she keeps constantly getting more and more attention until people start playing her. That's fine with me. I think the character's pretty annoying. I really like to see these changes, and I brought this up to you before, as opposed to just bumping her numbers. I don't think she should be a support that is good at 1v1ing. I think that should be her weakness, is you can jump on her, right? Because she doesn't really have an escape tool, but if she has her zone, she can basically destroy anyone, like even a brawl. I don't know if you've had...
I'm melee characters, yes. You've definitely brought up pain points with Eva before, and I 100% agree with them. Playing a melee character. Is Eva a problem when you're playing Saros? Her power, she gets like bonus damage if you're standing in her orb and she's auto-attacking you. And you kind of have to do that if you're Beebo, if you're up close with her.
True.
And so that is, you're fighting her at her absolute strongest, which is a tough fight, and she does a ton of damage. There's no denying that when you're up close like that, and especially if she's not anti-healed. She's doing a ton of damage. She's also healing up all the damage that you're doing to her. That feels super oppressive. I might disagree with you on, I think that her numbers are in a decent spot right now. I don't think she needs anything more necessarily, maybe a bit, but I think that these utility changes are something that I want to see like play out over the patch to see if it makes her that much stronger or not. And I think these are really strong. I think they feel like they should have been doing this from the start.
Totally.
And maybe it's going to also feel better to play against her because she's going to be using her orbs more for utility instead of damage.
I think that's a really good point, actually.
And characters that play against her, but
yeah, honestly, something I hadn't really considered too is because I play so much Beebo, and the frustration is maybe more that Eva counters Beebo, and
the Beebo Eva matchup is bad.
Instead of realizing that, I've more just pinned it on Eva's overtuned right now. But you're probably right. Like if I was a ranged character, way easier to kill her orbs, way easier to apply anti-heal, and then go on her, and just sort of keep a good arm's length between you and her, and make sure that space is sort of operable and the spacing's good. Whereas with Beebo, if you dive on her, that's actually what she kind of wants you to do, because then you're stuck in her zone of control and doing the drain tank or the drain support thing, which is sort of a cool identity. I don't think there's a ton of quote-unquote melee counters, especially not supports, typically in any game. Right, the support is going to get assassinated by the melee assassin. That's sort of like a trope that we have, and in this case, that is kind of reversed. Sort of like you have this trap that you set up with Eva, with the zones of control, and that is cool. Like I haven't really thought about it like that, and that sort of makes me like Eva more.
Yeah.
I think these changes are definitely great. These are really cool utility changes. They're things I really enjoy about Beebo. So I'm glad that another character can do them, because that also means that Beebo is safe. He is not going to lose that aspect of his kit. It
Totally.
is instead going to be spread into the rest of the game, as opposed to Beebo being OP for being the only one who can do it. So
Yeah.
I'm stoked to see this. Jin's an interesting one. I mean, Jin, if you've been around, if you've been playing Supervive for a while, and probably if you're new too, because of the dunking meta that we've been experiencing, Jin is dunk king, um, and basically you're gonna only see Jins who have put in time and play Jin and know Jin really well and just operate like absolute madmen in the abyss. They are terrifying. Like, they pounce on you faster than you can dash away. They'll out time you if you're a dunking character, or if you think you're, for me, in my case, Beebo ulting away, they can still time it and still dunk you. Like, it is just absolutely insane, and that part of the kit is being taken away, sort of.
Sort of. This is a really fair change, I think. As
Mm-hmm.
not a Jin player, as soon as he flips up the down slam dunk, he can hold that for as long as the cooldown is for his flip. So he'll only ever have, like, when he's in the abyss. I didn't even realize this. When he's in the abyss, he only has like a couple seconds of downtime where he can't have like a dunk threat on you. But now it's only going to be as long as the floating up. When he pulls out his glider again, it cancels it, and that feels a lot more fair. It's like, okay, he glided, pull out his glider. I can engage on him now. I can do something instead of never being able to step foot off land when he's in the area.
I'm curious. I mean, do you think it feels like they took a bone away from Wukong, and then they sort of pumped him up with his Q and his spins. They added that power back elsewhere.
Yeah.
I'm not really seeing that for Jin. I'm seeing, obviously the dunk changes, and then also they're taking away your gliding now resets the Q1 and Q2, so you can't hold it for nearly as long. I feel like
Yeah,
this
he
is
is
kind of a
considerably weaker.
double whammy for Jin. Like, he's not like
Definitely.
he's not a melee that on land to really be an assassin, unless he can be pretty swifty with that clone and find an isolated target. Then maybe he gets a combo, but like otherwise, like, his identity without the abyss is like kind of a joke. Like, he just doesn't have the
Yeah.
tools of a brawl. He doesn't have the CC of a Beebo to actually demand respect as a melee in any other way than dunking. And a little bit of health here and a clone troop projectile speed. Like,
I mean, to be
if you're
fair,
a Jin main,
it's not a little bit of health. It's 400 health at level 15, which is
yeah,
nothing to sneeze at. I think
yeah,
that's
true.
almost, it's 400 less than Brawl, but it's going from being almost 1,000 less than Brawl to Brawl's got like 2,800 health. He's one of the tankiest characters in the game. I think him and Oath are the tankiest,
Hmm.
just like with base stats. So I'm curious to see what his it's how much more like land fighting he'll be able to do. I mean, it is pretty slow projectile. I think this can be nice.
True.
But you're right. It was a little rough with the he had a little bit. He was not really strong in beta, and then dunk meta reared its ugly head, and he shot to the top. And now dunk meta hopefully is being put to rest for a bit.
I would love to be proven wrong. I would love to see.
Yeah.
I mean, I would like to see a Jin blow me up, like, truthfully, and
Yeah.
and find that assassin playstyle that he totally embodies, but has been, hiding in the abyss the whole time instead. So if it is a really strong change, and this is enough power, 1200 to 1440 movement speed or projectile speed, to offset a pretty serious, gliding, resetting your Q, getting rid of your dunk, and also dunks being harder to pull off anyway, I think then great. Kudos to the balancing team, but
Totally.
I got to see it to believe it. Myth, I mean, this is pretty simple, and I like it a lot.
This is cool.
Yeah,
I like it too.
I think it
Um,
kind of makes sense. Like, if you're
yeah.
burning and you walk
Thematic.
into a wall, those flames aren't staying on you. Like,
Sure. Yeah.
it's like,
There's no oxygen inside the wall.
yeah, don't
Physics 101.
exactly.
No, I wonder what that's gonna do to, because I think this is one of the main reasons people weren't. I have not been seeing a lot of myths. Partly, I think because she's really
Totally.
hard, but also because everybody is running Burning Bomb,
Hmm.
and so I'm excited to see myths come back into the rotation a bit. I think she's
Chase.
gonna be really strong, especially in if with staying somewhat melee meta. I think that might change a bit, given that the melee characters were usually the ones with the dunks, and because it was dunk meta, there had to be more melee characters.
Hmm.
Because she's really strong against people who dive on her, because she can stun them into a wall with an arrow, knock them away, jump into a wall, totally avoid their engage. So I think she's gonna be. I think she's gonna go right back up to being super strong again.
I hope so. I think Myth is really cool. I think her zone control is pretty unique, and it's really fun to watch Nidhogg play her. So
True.
Shrike, I don't know. I kind of wish we had Seb here to talk about Shrike a little bit, because he seemed pretty convinced
Yeah.
that Shrike wasn't in a very good state. I kind of beg to differ. I feel like she's a solid, like, B plus. When you're hot,
I
you're
mean,
hot on Shrike, and
it
it's a
feels like
problem.
these changes totally. It's kind of suffering from the same thing as Joule. It's like if you play her perfectly, you feel kind of like a god, and there's not really much that your opponents can do. But nobody can play her perfectly. She's so polarizing for like new players. I don't know if you were watching or seeing any of like the discussion posts that were coming up. Whenever there's an influx of new players, there's like a dozen Shrike is OP discussion posts just because people haven't learned how to play against her yet. I feel like all of these, it's just like sound effects that make it more obvious that you have a mark on you. That's going to be useful if you're like learning the game. You won't get just blown up. The Hawk cooldown is reduced, so that's just some super helpful utility.
Yeah, it is a good buff, and I think it's a deserved buff. I think at higher levels you do learn how to play around her and can handle it pretty easily. I think it's a great change in terms of like clarifying that when you're in danger, and it's kind of like it's an easy thing to learn when you're against Shrike. Like you get blown up once or twice, she's done her trick, now you know to be careful. And so this just clarifying that, making it more clear, like it is along the lines of the dunk changes. I think it's a good clarifying thing within a game full of noise of basically too much going on your screen at all times, especially as a newer player. So I think that's really good. And I think honestly this Scout Hawk Q change is pretty substantial, given that I think what does it anti, like, I don't know how big the radius is, but anti-heal's like a really big deal, just because
Oh, true.
if
The
you are
level
anti-healed,
4.
yeah,
Yeah, the
you
level 4 on that.
you just can't. Basically, if you are anti-healed, that is the
I
green
can look it
light
up right now.
for the opposing hunters to just all in you, because it's not like League
Yeah.
of Legends where there's grievous wounds where 40% healing is effective, or your healing is reduced by 40%. It's only 60% effective. It's just cut off. You can't be healed, and the only way to get rid of that is by using a Vibe Beam, which you can't use in fights. Having that,
Let's see.
having access to that,
Yeah.
yeah, 5 seconds sooner
Yeah.
in the late
That's
game for
good.
Shrike at a much lower mana cost, like that's nice. Late
Okay, it's
game.
anti-heal for 4 seconds, and then at
Okay.
level 4, it's plus 4 seconds. So you get 8 seconds of anti-heal, which means that you'll only have
Yeah, so 7 seconds
of downtime.
downtime.
I mean, if you have 2 people on your team who have anti-heal, that's like you could pretty much permanently anti-heal like an EVA team or something.
That's big, and the range on
that's-
it's really good. The radius is pretty
That's
good.
really strong.
Great little buff. She doesn't need anything with her numbers. Quality of life for her opponents, and we offset that with more supportive, vision and anti-heal. Very strong. Moving up, just bug fixes, which I guess thankfully, they found some Tetra bugs. I was very surprised to see that Tetra didn't have any changes.
I think they're gonna do it next patch if she's still a problem. I think people are still kind of just figuring it out.
My guess is they don't know what they need to change yet, and they probably didn't want to just hit her with the boom 20% less damage nerf hammer. My issue is she is a problem already. She does too many things well, and people are still just getting better at her every day. So we're gonna have a few weeks here of just absolute Tetra dominance, potentially demanding a hotfix. Like in my opinion, she is so strong at engaging. She's very strong at zone control. She absolutely swiped Celeste's ability to throw up walls and just said, "Hey, I can do it better."
I wish they would.
Basically,
whatever code they use to make the Tetra walls, they need to retroactively apply that to the Celeste wall.
Literally.
I've
Like-
never Celeste wall works like half the time, if that.
Oh my gosh. She won. Yeah, I have to rant. Sorry. I used to main Celeste, and the main reason I don't main Celeste anymore is because her abilities just don't feel good to use. Like her wall, for one, is like it's got a long cast time. It doesn't have very much health. You can't use it for random things like elevation gain, which Tetra can do. She can climb her walls and then get up other walls and then do the thing where the void thing where you pour it on top of a wall and you're out of the zone. You know what I mean? You're basically untargetable while you're up there. Tetra can do shit like that, which is broken. That's game breaking. Like I don't think you should really have access to that. And the fact that she can just throw up walls instantly that have far more health than a Celeste wall at no cast time, it's just like it's power creep, but it's like too soon to see power creep. Is my main issue with her. She does Celeste's thing, she does it far better. She does Bishop's thing with like long range autos that are also AoE. She does that better. She does Bishop's thing of like dashing in and engaging on you with a big stun, but she does it better because the stun is gigantic and it's also a dunk. There's just too much good stuff in her kit, and you can't be S tier at every category. You can't have that much poke, that much engage, that much zone control, and have it all be super strong. Like something's got to give, and I'm not sure how they're going to do it. They probably don't know how they're going to do it. It's probably going to just be a big numbers tweak.
If they could just make the walls like have like half as much health, that would be a little bit more counter playable.
Colin was bringing up that instead of having like a health bar, they should just have like a ward health bar, basically like 3 hits kills, 2 hits kills, right? So that you don't find yourself as in a Luna cut off from your team having to dig through the wall
Totally.
versus a Shrike that can probably one shot. I don't know if that's true, but like
I think it's
some high damaging
one
thing.
Shrike, but it might be a one shot.
Right.
Yeah.
It's just, the way the walls, at least leveling the playing field for her opponents and how they interact with the walls, I think would be a good start. Core combat and systems, here we are. The big old dunks change. Are people going to be happy with this? I hope so. I honestly thought dunks were pretty fair. And not that I was stoked to be getting one shot, but the counterplay is that you are aware that that character can dunk. And the issue is, if you are new, you don't know which characters can dunk. So you don't know which ones you can follow across the abyss. And that would be extremely frustrating. And I understand that frustration. It's a steep learning curve to have to understand which characters do what. I thought dunks were like a pretty cool kind of way to level the playing field in situations that are like dire. If your team has bad tempo, if your team is not well equipped, but you have a dunker, right, you can find a pick, and then all of a sudden somebody's got legendary armor and like can kind of carry. You know what I mean? Like, I think that's sort of a cool mechanic for the game that already has a ton of mechanics that can basically equalize level the playing field in an instant, or like keep you in it. With res beacons and crown plays, like all of that is super cool, and dunks play into that system really, really well. That being said, I'm totally cool with these changes. I wasn't stoked to be getting dunked all the time. I don't play any dunk characters, so I don't feel the pain of this change.
Especially because it's in line with the glider changes. There's like a heat bar that builds up now. Like in beta, you get spiked if you took one tick of damage and you had your glider out. That was like a learning curve thing, and it was something that you had to play around just with like a knowledge check. But I feel like it feels a lot better. Feels a lot more forgiving, and there's still a lot of counterplay around it. And the fact that it's still like the threshold is as high as 70% HP, like that's a couple of abilities. Like,
yeah.
I probably spend
That's
most of
not
the
too
game
bad.
70%
Yeah.
HP anyway. So it's like it's really not that bad. You're looking at your map. You're gliding in the abyss. A kingpin like jumps out. You don't even see him. You have your map open, dunks you immediately. That feels awful. Like, don't text and drive, but like definitely addressing a pretty main frustration for people who aren't maybe quite as tuned into what every single character does, like the engage range of where they can dunk you at, and good change, good direction that they're heading.
Oh yeah, emergency platforms changed. Kind of weird, but okay. Feels like a more high elo change. They're aware. They're that in tune with the game to know the problem, see the counter to the problem, and then fix both at the same time. It's cool. Yeah. I wasn't aware of this glider exploit.
I think it was on Wukong. I think I saw a couple people do it as well, and this was just like a general mechanic, and then Wukong was just able to really take advantage of it with his bunny hopping. I think this is just aligning it with the intended behavior. I don't think anybody's going to notice it unless they were already kind of abusing it.
Right. Yeah. Good catch. I trust that they're making the right change here. This one's pretty exciting. I mean, you've heard me go off, like a broken record, literally every single game, talking about how I cannot fight because mana is such an issue, and it only is such an issue for like a handful of characters. I don't know them all, but as a Beebo main, oh my gosh, Beebo is super mana hungry, and having a little more mana regen in the early game and in the late game too. I'm mostly just excited that it's now starting at 4.5 at level 1. Things. That's pretty good. You can cast a couple things and then sit out of the fight for a second, come back. Duplicate protection. So this already happened. The mid-season boost is probably coming tomorrow if you log in, so definitely do that. Pretty nice. Good change. I will say this. I am a player who hasn't had any issues with the Armory. I am among a select few, and that is largely because I play the game a lot, and 2, because I played in beta. So them mixing up the items, adding new stuff, adding more stuff like perks, it's just such an awesome sandbox playground for me as like a theory crafter myself. I love coming up with builds. I love seeing all the new items, and the fact that I have to put in some time grinding them out, not really a problem for me. I think there are ways that they could address the agency issues with the Armory. Things like different tiers of packs of capsules. Currently they only have one capsule at 500 and then a forge that is also random. I think it would be kind of cool to have like a rare capsule, an epic capsule, a legendary capsule, and just have those be different prisma costs, and that way you can kind of steer which items you're going for a little bit better. I think something like that would maybe help players, but I think most people really just don't want to see the Armory, which is kind of too bad, because I thought it was a solid solution for player retention, to be honest. Like, you do have to grind it in order to get the stuff you want to play with, and along the way you're gonna find some happy accidents. You're gonna find some things that you have to make work. You're gonna play games where you discover the item that you were hoping to have from the start and be really excited about that. I get that it's frustrating, but I also think it's a cool system, and it's definitely one that I've enjoyed giving the time.
Yeah, it's fine. These are good changes. I think you're right that I think most of the players think that they don't want the armory, and I feel like especially people who take this game more seriously and like a competitive aspect have a really strong case for that. I would think that you would want to be as level as a playing field as possible, but it's simply not. Like perfectly equally matched players. One of them might just have better stats, and then kind of the other one might feel a little bit miffed about losing out on a fight that they would have won otherwise. It's a super real frustration, and you're simply not going to get rid of that without getting rid of loot boxes for the armory. It's a really interesting kind of novel way, and hopefully it's kind of they'll figure out what they need to do, what people need out of it, or people will get used to it or come around to it in some way or another. I hope we can look back on it in 6 months, 12 months, and say like, okay, that was funny that they did it this way, but it's in a much better state now that they've made so and so changes XYZ. The bookmarks actually working. I'm super hyped about that.
Bookmarks
Being
is
able to
definitely
save
hyped.
stuff in game as well. Like that was super annoying. That I would spend so much time shopping for stuff when I'm not playing the character, like my main characters.
Oh my gosh, yeah, 'cause the wrong things are saved. Yeah, and you
Yeah,
have to
exactly.
scroll down, and then all of a sudden you're getting dunked on, and
Yeah, no,
yeah,
like I've definitely like died a couple times.
especially
And that feels
with how
really bad.
yeah, I mean, relic shops are so hot. I mean, if you guys have been playing, like you know that is fights are going down at the relic shops basically all the time. You cannot be spending too much time shopping. Got some relics and grips, upgrades or changes, not necessarily upgrades. Mostly nerfs, it seems. Kind of.
Pretty much all haste.
Which honestly, I'm happy to see that, especially watching Despi play Kingpin. I am excited to see Ardent Crossbow. I think that's a fair change.
Yeah.
Ghost apparently was sniping double. Resonating Idol hasn't felt like a crazy problem for me, but I don't have 3-star. Not yeah, I'm not indifferent. I mean, I'm indifferent as a Beebo main to these changes because Haste is really good on Beebo, but I also feel like I'm totally going to be able to operate. And I think the point they bring up here too is being able to cast more of your spells feels great, but having too much uptime across all abilities can sometimes flatten the combat sandbox. I agree with that. I feel like it kind of, if you have your abilities up, most of the time you're going to start finding yourself doing the same thing more often, right? Whatever is optimal, whatever the optimal combo is, you're just going to do that on repeat, as opposed to having to play around your cooldowns, which is more improvised and going to like ultimately just have a healthier play pattern than I always have what I need up, which is that
Yeah.
Felix issue.
Yeah, you get bigger windows to like go in on enemies. You have to be more creative, like you said. I think overall it's good, especially since it's across the board. Everybody who runs these items is going to be just have like half a second, quarter second longer cooldowns on stuff, and it adds up.
Perks, the generative elixirs nerf, understandable. This was kind of an exploit. I don't know how many people were using this. It definitely was very, very strong. You could just throw down a ward, pick it up, throw down a ward, pick it up, throw down a ward, pick it up, and then have every single elixir on at once. Very, very powerful in the late game, or whenever. I mean, honestly, any time in the game. And in a lobby where there's a lot of downtime, you could basically do this before every fight. Good change. Is generative elixirs going to be used anymore? Probably not. Consumables. I'm kind of excited about this pocket
I'm
anomaly
super
thing.
excited for Pocket Anomaly. I think that's going to be so much fun to play with. It's kind of expensive. I can see why they would
Totally.
make it 3K to begin with, but I'm really excited for all these changes. But Pocket Anomaly, like Tetra throws up a wall or something, this is your way around it. Finally, like as long as it doesn't have like a long cast time to place it or anything, I can totally see enemy Tetra throws up a wall. Somebody who's right at the wall can just throw down the anomaly, and their team just crosses over immediately, or there's a wall or something, and they use it as an engage to like it's gonna be sick. It's gonna be super sick.
Yeah, the rest of this stuff, I mean,
Arena.
Arena's cool. It's a little something. Yeah, Arena players have been neglected for long enough, so Arena players, your choice. You get a visual update for your maps. Nice.
We'll take it.
We'll
take it.
It is something. Also, honestly, the spectator change too. I don't watch a ton of tournaments, but I'm glad that they are.
Yeah, I noticed
gearing
that. I
things
noticed
towards them a
when
little
I
bit.
would watch. Yeah, when I would watch streams and stuff. It's like, how does anyone know what's going on right now? Because it's not like just two teams like traditional MOBAs.
Also excited about this quality of life change. The death VO, kind of nice, but especially this holding down the consumable button. I definitely find myself just spamming it over and over again, and like in really stressful situations, just being able to like press it and hold it down and like relax a little bit seems sort of nice. Like that is a good quality of life change, and
I wonder how long it'll take for me to like get rid of that muscle memory though. Like
Just spam, spam,
behind
spam.
it. And yeah,
It's
like,
probably still gonna do it. I mean, these are the types of changes that it's just nice to see. You know, alongside the patch notes, you get one or two of these sorts of things happening, and then the game just it gets sharper every
yeah,
time. And that's what you want to see from your indie company. That's
totally.
working hard. I feel like man, 1.0 got a lot of flack. Like,
Yeah,
be it a little bit deserved. You know, kind of, things were kind of messy. Um, I feel like it's our job as players to just sort of remain faithful and patient, and just allow them the time to adjust and fix their mistakes respectfully without us all blowing up or leaving the game. You know what I mean?
yeah,
I think it's fair to say that 1.0 didn't land the way Theorycraft wanted it to, but they're certainly going to do everything in their power, and as timely as they can, keep their players happy, and that's the best we can really ask for from a solid studio with a pretty dang great game. Well, thank you so much for doing this patch rundown with me. Appreciate it. Definitely
of course.
helped me kind of reflect and realize my own bias in the characters and as a Beebo main, how much I kind of could use to just like branch out a little bit or like understand perspective from the other side of things. It's just good to get a more full perspective. So I appreciate that.
Totally. Good talk. Good to. I'm excited for the patch. I think overall, super good patch. Like I said, like 8 out of 10 earlier. No, couple disappointments with some stuff with the Joule changes, but other than that, everything seems to be heading in the right direction with these changes.
Well, do you want to play it all?
Yeah, I'm done with you.
Couple games in.
I'm done with you.